Welcome back to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And for anyone that is listening, I just want to say you are fucking amazing if no one's told you that today. And if you do have the ability to watch this on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, I would highly recommend it. I'm going to be sharing my screen today. There'll be some visuals on this one. So I would highly recommend jumping on YouTube and watching this bad boy with me. And I happen to be going live on TikTok while I'm doing this. So for anyone that's jumping on live, this is a live podcast that you'll be listening to. So I'm going to be sharing my screen, guys. We're going to be going through traumas. So what are traumas and how to heal through them? Now, obviously, a trigger warning for anyone who's listening or anyone that wants to, take value from this. This does require an open mind. That is very obvious. So if you're someone who is interested in trauma, interested in doing self-work, interested in working on yourself, then this video will be very, very powerful for you and very beneficial for you. So thank you for joining. My name is Lewis Huckstep. I'm a mindset coach. I own a couple businesses. I love learning. I love teaching. I love coaching. And I make these videos because I want to give back to the world from the lessons that I've gained, the lessons that I've learned, and hopefully help a couple of people out in the process. If you're watching online via the TikTok live, leave a like, leave a comment below, and I might shout you out on the podcast as well. Let's roll through it, guys. So what is trauma? So trauma at its bare essence is a perception or an experience that you've been through where you've got high levels of emotional charge linked to it. So like, for example, say you go through something very traumatic or something very painful. Say you went through something where you were cheated on. I actually did a coaching session with someone recently, and this person was cheated on, and they said it was traumatic. It fucked them up. It really, really hurt that person, and they were really holding on to it. And the challenge when it comes to that is people or everything that you go through, every moment you experience, every situation you go through from a molecule level, that's not how you say it, from a molecule level, there's just as many positive charges as there are negatives. There's just as many electrons as there are protons, and the world is always seeking balance. Now, I'm going to share my screen, so hopefully you're watching on YouTube right now. If not, I would highly recommend it. So in the world, guys, there is just as many positive charges as there are negatives. And every perception that you have, you are subconsciously or consciously splitting your perception into two. There's positives and then negatives. Now, if you go through something and you call it traumatic or you call it abuse, it's because you are seeing all the negatives to it rather than positives. If you're looking at the graph, it's obviously the other way around right now. It's positives versus negatives. Now, if you have not already, I would highly recommend reading the book, Man's Search for Meaning. It is from Viktor Frankl. He went through a Nazi concentration camp in World War II. His brother, father, mother, and his partner were all killed in a concentration camp. He went through what I call one of the most painful, traumatic experiences in human history. And there's obviously more than that, but I would say it's pretty up there. It's pretty insane what he experienced, and he shares his experiences in a concentration camp in the book. I would highly recommend reading the book. Anyways, at the end of that, he shares that he had a meaning of purpose and gratitude for what he went through. Why? Because he was able to see both positives and negatives to what it is that he experienced and what he went through, and he was able to put a meaning on something to which others don't do. And this, obviously, that's a very extreme example, but I use that as an example because some people can't even work past that they got broken up on, or they got cheated on, or they lost a business, or someone effed them over, or someone did this or this, that, or that to them. So what I want to encourage you to do, and what we'll go through today on this podcast, is how do you create a balanced perception? How do you see the blessings within the chaos? How do you see the positives to the negatives? It comes from quality questions. It comes from knowing your values, which is what I speak about on most videos. I speak about values. What are values? We all have them, and how to use them. So come back to the screen. So again, if you're not on my YouTube, go to my YouTube. It's on my it's just Lewis Huckstep on YouTube. And in life, there's positive and negative charges. Now, you might know people in life who they have really high highs and they have really low lows. They go, one day life's amazing, they're killing it, they're incredible, they're grateful, everything's epic. And then the next day they're suicidal, they're depressed, and they hate themselves. everything in life will seek balance, whether you like it or not. And the thing is, you have the ability to balance yourself, or the universe will do that for you. So what you want to do is you want to learn how to ask quality questions to allow yourself to balance your mind without having to let the universe do it for you. It's like hindsight. Has anyone experienced hindsight before? Most people have. It's when you go through something and it's painful or it hurts or whatever happens, and then you don't see the benefits to it until later on. It's like a month, a week, a year, couple years, 10 years later, something clicks and you're like, shit, that's why that happened. I'm so grateful that happened. I can see why that happened now. And the question is, how do you bring hindsight so close to literally you're doing that in the moment? It is possible by understanding what I'm talking about right now, and again, using the questions that I'm going to be giving you guys today. If you are listening on the live video, if you could love this video, hit love on that video, tap, 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 tap. I would appreciate it. So everything in life have just as many positives to negatives. I'll use some examples. Anxiety is a huge one. A lot of people think anxiety is a bad thing. I was a really, really anxious child. My upbringing, I was really anxious, really insecure. I was a really socially awkward kid. I got diagnosed with Asperger's. If anyone knows what that is, I'm on the autistic spectrum. Now, a negative of that is I was very socially awkward. However, a positive to it is that I'm really good at having very deep and meaningful conversations one-on-one. So even though there was a negative to it, there's also a benefit to it as well. But it comes from changing your perspective. It's like stress. Stress motivates people. It drives people. It makes you get shit done. But there's a lot of health concerns if you live in stress as well. You can apply this to literally everything. There is just as many positives to negatives, just as many drawbacks to benefits to absolutely everything. And this is hard when you hear it about the trauma or the trauma that you've labeled that you've been through, because most people aren't willing to do the looking. Most people aren't willing to do the work when it comes to these topics. I sat down with a lady, and she was a client of mine, and she was sexually assaulted. She went to a party. She was talking to a gentleman. I wouldn't call him a gentleman. I'd call him an immature boy. And she was like friendly with this person. She was sleeping with this person. And he invited her to this party, and she didn't want to go. Her gut said, I don't want to go. I'm not, didn't feel right to her. She didn't want to go. She ended up going. She didn't listen to her boundaries. She didn't have high levels of self-worth, and she went to this party. She was drugged by this person, and 3 people took advantage of her, sexually speaking. So she was raped, sexually assaulted at this party. I went through the same process with her. I went through okay, look, I'm not going to use this person's name. I'm going to call her Sophie. Sophie, her name wasn't Sophie, but let's call her Sophie. Sophie, what were the benefits of what you went through? And if you ask most people that question, what were the benefits of being raped? They will punch you in the head. They would say, fuck you, there are no benefits. Well, there are, you're just not looking for them. And we did this process, and we came up with 46 benefits. And this is in the space of 30 minutes. 46 benefits of that whole experience. Her not listening to her stomach, not listening to her intuition, not setting clear boundaries, not tolerating poor behavior. She was doing something, this behavior that she was doing in this relationship, she was doing this in all of her previous relationships. She didn't have clear boundaries. She didn't hold people to them. It's because she lacked self-worth, and she would continue to do this. And the lesson she gained from it, even though it was a painful lesson to experience, it was a lesson that she takes forward to every single relationship that she wouldn't have ever done if she wouldn't have learnt the lesson that she'd learnt through this. I'll use an example for myself. I had an employee. I'd hired a manager at one of my fitness studios, and when I was hiring this person, I was in a very stressful state. I was not in a good place for myself, and I was very, very stressed. I was really overwhelmed, and I was not in a good place mentally. And anyways, I hired this person, but this person didn't feel right. They didn't seem right. Like my intuition, my gut didn't like this person, but I hired this person anyways. And long story short, we had some issues with this person. This person ended up making a work cover claim. If you're familiar in Australia, it's kind of like a governing policy that kind of looks after employees if they get sick or they get injured at work, or they get covered by that. And this is when I was like 22 years old, and I had no clue what work cover was. I'd never heard of it before because I'd never had a traditional job. I just never learned or heard it before. And she filed for a stress-induced work injury. And I don't know what that means either. It was just overwhelmed. She went and got a doctor's certificate. And anyways, it went on and on and on. Long story short is I lost that case. And it ended up costing $152,000 for this person. And this person was not nice. She was very deceitful. It was very intentional, this whole process that she'd come up with and how she was successful in it. However, do you think now when I hire people, I take a little bit more time and I'm a little bit more intentional about the people that I hire? Do you think that was a very big wake-up call and huge lesson for me about having my insurances in place, about having the right people and hiring the right people and letting the right people into the business? I learned so much through that. So even though it was painful and there was heaps of negatives associated with it, there were a ton of positives, just as many positives as there were negatives to it. You can apply this to absolutely everything and anything. And if you're looking at my screen again, the goal when I'm with clients and when I'm working with clients is I want to learn for them to get here. So instead of going through life where you have these huge peaks and these huge troughs where you're feeling really, really confident, life's amazing, and then you're depressed and you want to kill yourself, you want to have ups and downs, but you want to monitor or control the ups and downs. So if you're getting really, really down and really sad, you want to be able to pick yourself up faster rather than letting yourself go out and spiral into like depression or anxiety or whatever it is that you spiral into. So instead of having these huge peaks and huge troughs and these huge emotional swings, you want to learn how to have these smaller ones where you can control the perception that you're having by asking the right questions. So for example, if something pops up and it really stresses you, really overwhelms you, it triggers you, it brings up high levels of emotion for you, by asking quality questions like, how is this serving you? How is this making you stronger? How is this making you a better parent? How is this improving your business skills? How is this making you a better athlete? Whatever's important to you. By asking those types of questions, you're able to control the meaning of things that you're going through, just like Viktor Frankl did. He went through a concentration camp. His mother, brother, father, and partner all got killed in a concentration camp. And he came out of that experience with gratitude, with meaning. And that's why he was able to control his perspective and the meaning that he put upon that situation and that experience that he had. So with this being understood, that there's just as many positives as there are negatives. There's just as many positive charges as there are negative ones. There's just as many ups as there are downs. And the faster you can see the full perspective of things is the faster you can balance your mind. Is you want to do this. So if you want to pause my screen and read what's on the screen, I'll read it out to you anyways. You want to find a moment that is traumatic, and I put that in quotations. What is traumatic for yourself? You want to find that moment that triggers you. So what is triggering for you? It might be something painful that you went through in your upbringing, in your childhood, with your parents, with your partner, with your business partner, whatever it is. What was really highly emotional and painful for you? Go back to that moment and find the benefits. Ask yourself questions. How has this served you? How has this made you stronger? What skills has this given you? What experience has this given you? What perspectives has this given you? And you want to find as many positives there as you can. And by doing that, you balance out your perspective, you balance that pendulum out where you can see just as many positives as you do negatives. And this sounds very simplistic. This is how you heal trauma. Go back to whatever it is that you perceive as traumatic and go find how it served you. Go find how it's made you stronger as a man, as a woman, as a parent, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. Find how it served you, because trauma is a perspective that you only see negatives to. And yes, I understand people are going to say, how are there benefits to being raped? How are there benefits to being abused? How are there benefits to being abandoned? There are. You're just not looking for them, because everything in life is happening for you, not to you. You've heard that before in some motivational spiel, and it sounds really nice, but it's a bit harder to do sometimes. But this is exactly how you do it. You figure out where you triggered, what sets you off, what perspectives are lopsided to which you call trauma or abuse, go back to that experience and find the meaning, find the benefits, find the lessons, find the skills, find how it has served you, and it will neutralize the negative charge that you have attached to it. And it will no longer trigger you. It will no longer hold you back, and you can finally let go of that. And to take it a bit further, for people that follow me and listen to my content, I talk a lot about values very, very frequently. And if you do this process and you ask questions that are directed at your values, like say you've got a high, like values for people that are listening to this right now for the first time, is we've all got unique sets of values. It might be, it's areas of your life that are intrinsically important to you, that inspire you, that light you up, that are meaningful to you. It might be being a parent. It might be your career. It might be your health. It might be your image. It might be animals. It might be making money. It might be running a business. It doesn't matter. It's uniquely important to you. And to figure that out, I have a video on YouTube. Just go Values Determination, Lewis Huckstep on YouTube, and you can do it for free. But you want to determine what your values are. And by asking questions like what we've been speaking about today on how has that trauma or that painful experience served you or benefited your values, it's a lot more potent. So for example, say you are a parent and you love being a parent, and a parent is a high value of yours, and say your family, which kind of ties into each other, and say your career. You would ask yourself, okay, I went through a traumatic event where I was bullied, I was shamed, I was shunned, and I was really emotionally manipulated and abused. Ask yourself, how has this made me a better parent? And when you first ask that question, you probably won't have an answer to it. And that's why it's trauma, because you can't see any benefits to it. But look for it. They are there. When you say, I don't know, it means you haven't looked hard enough. Keep looking. How has it made you a better parent? How has this made you a better leader for your family? How has this improved your family life? How has this improved your career? Whatever it is that triggers you, teaches you the most. So figure out what triggers you. Where's it coming from? Go back to the moment. Go back to that experience. It might be something in your childhood. It might be something that someone hurt you. It might be physical, emotional, sexual, financial pain that you've been through, and find the benefits, find the blessings, find how it served you. And by listing those all out and linking them to your highest values, it will remove the negative connotation and negative charge towards it. It will remove that trauma that you've got, and it will no longer trigger you. That's how it's done. That's how you do the work. That's how you heal yourself. Super simplistic, but it literally all you need to do. You don't need to jump on medication. Yes, medication has its purpose. I've said that in previous videos, but putting people on medication without solving the root cause will not fix it. It's like taking a painkiller for a broken arm. Yes, it might take away the pain, but it doesn't fix the broken arm. So you want to go back and do the real work. Do the hard work. Go and hold yourself accountable and literally do this. Do this right now. Jump off this video. I'm pretty much done now. Find an event that has truly hurt you in this up until this moment. You perceive it as painful, traumatic, abuse, whatever it is. I want you to write down 50 to 200 benefits of how that exact experience has served you and your life and your mission and your values and who you are as a man or a woman today. Yes, it's hard. It's meant to be hard. It's not, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And not many people are willing to do this. I did this with a client, like I said at the start of this podcast, who was sexually assaulted. We did this. It took us 30 minutes. We came up with 46 benefits of that whole situation and how it served her and how it's made her stronger, wiser, more resilient, more aware, have better boundaries for herself, set those boundaries, hold people to those boundaries, improve her friendships and relationships and her level of self-love. We came up with all of those benefits, but I was prepared to go there with her. She was prepared to go there with me, and that's how we did it. So guys, if you want to heal your trauma, like this video if you're watching on TikTok right now. If you want to heal your trauma, find the trauma. Go back to the event. It can be painful. I'm not going to lie. It can be very scary. Find it. Ask yourself, how has this served me? How has this made me stronger? What skills have I developed? What perspectives has this given me? How has this made me better, wiser, more resilient, etc.? And find the benefits. And that's how you remove the negative charge. You'll see how everything is on the way, not in the way. And you'll see the divine order in everything that happens for you and to you. And then You can start doing this in the moment. So when you get triggered in the moment day to day, when pain shows up to you day to day, you can balance it as it goes. I hope this helps. I hope you got some value from it. I'll see you guys on the very next video. If you got some value, send this to a friend, like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate you all. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on the next video.